Welcome to Faith Wonders, where real stories of faith and miracles come alive from around the world.
Isabella was only 4 years old. She had never seen her mother's face or the colors of the world. Born blind, her universe was made of sounds, warmth, and imagination. But one quiet afternoon inside a small church in Portugal, something extraordinary happened. Something that would change 2 lives forever. Before we begin, tell us in the comments where you're watching from and what time it is there. Let's see how far the light of the Virgin Mary's miracles can reach. Elena woke up before sunrise. Her back hurt from cleaning houses all week, but Sunday was the only day she had with Isabella. She could hear her little girl's voice from the bedroom, whispering to her stuffed rabbit, inventing stories about angels and stars. Elena smiled, even through her exhaustion. She opened the door and said softly, "Good morning, my little angel." Isabella turned her head toward her mother's voice and smiled, a smile so pure that it could melt the coldest heart. She couldn't see Elena, but she felt her presence, her scent, her love. Elena's heart broke a little each time she realized that her daughter would never see the blue sky, the flowers in spring, or the face of the woman who loved her most. "Mom, are we going out today?" Isabella asked, holding her rabbit close. "Yes, sweetheart, we're going to church."
It had been over a year since Elena last stepped into church. Not because she'd stopped believing, but because life had worn her down. Faith can be hard to hold when you're working 16-hour days just to survive. That morning, though, something in her heart told her to go. Elena dressed Isabella in a white dress with tiny embroidered flowers, the last gift from her own mother. Isabella ran her fingers over the fabric. "It feels soft," she said. "It's beautiful," Elena whispered. The small church was only a few streets away. Elena held Isabella's hand as they walked slowly. The morning sun was bright. Isabella lifted her face, feeling its warmth. She said, "The sun is talking to me, Mama." Elena smiled. "And what is it saying?" "That today is special." Inside, the church was cool and quiet. The air smelled of candles and time. Elena guided Isabella to a wooden pew. Mass began. The priest's voice echoed gently through the church. Elena didn't pray. She was too tired, too burdened. Her eyes wandered to the statue of the Virgin Mary, her calm eyes, her open hands, her blue mantle that seemed to shine even in the dim light. When the service ended, most people left. Elena stayed, lost in thought. Isabella tugged her sleeve. "Mom, can I walk around a bit?" "Be careful," Elena said. Isabella moved slowly down the aisle, one hand extended, feeling the air. Then she stopped. Elena stood up. "Bella, what is it?" The girl tilted her head. "There's someone here." Elena looked around. "No, honey, it's just us." "Yes," Isabella said, pointing forward. "She's here." She walked toward the front, toward the statue of the Virgin Mary. "Mom, who is she?" "That's Our Lady, the Virgin Mary." "Can I touch her?" Elena hesitated, then nodded. She lifted Isabella up. The child's small hands reached out and touched the statue, tracing the folds of Mary's robe, the soft curve of her face, the cold plaster hands that seemed almost alive. Then Isabella whispered, "She's warm." Elena froze. The statue was stone cold. She's smiling at me, Isabella said. Elena felt goosebumps on her arms. After a long pause, Isabella wrapped her arms around her mother's neck. "She's beautiful," she whispered. The days after that felt normal, at first. But soon, small things began to happen. One evening, Elena turned on the kitchen light. From the other room, Isabella turned her head toward the glow. Another time, Elena placed a chair in the hallway on purpose. When Isabella walked by, she avoided it without touching. "How did you know it was there?" Elena asked. "I felt it," Isabella said softly. Elena didn't want to hope. Hope hurt when it disappeared. But then, one morning, Isabella pointed at the window. "Mom, why is it bright there?" Elena froze. "Bright?" she repeated. "Yes, it's different, like soft fire." Elena fell to her knees, tears in her eyes. Elena took Isabella to Dr. Ricardo Mendez, the ophthalmologist who had treated her since birth. He smiled kindly. "It's good to see you again, Elena. How's our brave girl?" "Doctor," Elena said quickly, "I think she's reacting to light." Dr. Mendez frowned, skeptical but gentle. He held up a small flashlight and shone it into Isabella's eyes. The girl blinked. He did it again. She blinked again. The doctor lowered the light, stunned. "Elena, that's impossible." He ordered more tests. A week later, the results came back. "There's activity in her optic nerves," he said, shaking his head. "It's faint, but it's there. In every previous test, there was nothing." Elena couldn't stop crying. "So, can she see?" "Not yet, but something has changed, something science can't explain." Weeks turned into months. Isabella began noticing more. The color of the sunlight through the window, the shadow of her own hand. Then one evening she whispered, "Mama, I can see something moving." "What is it, my love?" "Your voice. I can see where it comes from." Elena hugged her tightly, trembling with awe. By the 4th month, Isabella started describing things. "The wall is tall. The sky is big." "The sky?" Elena repeated, her heart pounding. "Yes, it's blue." That was the moment Elena realized her daughter was truly beginning to see. But the new gift came with fear. Isabella often cried, overwhelmed by the colors, the light, the shapes she couldn't name. "There's too much, Mama," she sobbed. "I don't understand what I see." Dr. Mendez explained. "She's learning a new language, the language of sight. You must teach her patiently." So Elena did. She pointed at everything. "This is a chair. This is your toy. This is red. This is the sun." Day by day, Isabella learned. After several months, the doctor said, "It's time for glasses. They'll help her focus." When the glasses were ready, Elena brought them home, her hands shaking. "Isabella," she said softly, "I have something for you." She placed the glasses on her daughter's face. "Now, open your eyes slowly." Isabella blinked, once, twice, then gasped, "Mama!" Elena's heart stopped. "You see me?" "Yes," she whispered, tears streaming down her cheeks. "You're so beautiful." Elena pulled her into her arms, both of them crying. It wasn't perfect. The world was still blurry, but it was real. Isabella began to see more clearly each day. She discovered colors, trees, and faces. She ran through the yard, laughing at the sight of her own shadow. One day, she pointed at a blue painting on the wall. She said, "That's her." Elena looked. It was a painting of the Virgin Mary. "Yes," Elena whispered. "That's her." Isabella smiled. "She's still with me."
6 years passed. Isabella was now 10, full of life and light. She could see enough to read, to draw, to dream. Every Sunday, Elena and Isabella went to that same church. They always stopped in front of the statue of the Virgin Mary. "Do you remember?" Elena asked. Isabella nodded. "I remember her warmth. I remember her voice." "What did she say to you that day?" Isabella smiled softly. She said, "You will see, because love always finds a way." They stood there in silence, hands clasped, hearts full. As they walked out into the sunlight, Isabella looked up at the bright blue sky. "Mom, it's beautiful," she said. "Yes, my darling, and so are you." From darkness to light, from silence to song, a mother's prayer was heard, and a little girl's touch became a miracle. Because sometimes faith doesn't need proof, it only needs a heart that believes. If this story touched your heart, subscribe to Faith Wonder, turn on the bell, and share this story with someone who needs hope today. May the Virgin Mary bless you and your loved ones. Amen.
One night, after Isabella turned 10, she dreamed she was standing in a garden filled with shimmering light. Thousands of white petals fell from the sky like snow. At the center of the garden stood the Virgin Mary, no longer the statue of stone, but a living mother, radiant and gentle. The lady looked at the girl with eyes full of love. "My little child," she said softly, "the light you received was never meant for you alone. Share it with those still walking in darkness." Isabella whispered, "But how, Mother?" The Virgin smiled tenderly. "Through love and faith. You don't need a miracle. You are the miracle." When Isabella awoke, tears filled her eyes. Elena rushed to her bedside. "What's wrong, my love?" She hugged her tightly. "I saw her, Mama, the Virgin Mary. She told me to help others see the light." News of Isabella's healing spread across the world. Local reporters came first, then national television crews. Everyone wanted to know, was it real? "Do you truly believe this was a miracle?" one journalist asked Elena. Elena smiled softly. "I don't know how to explain it, but when science runs out of answers, faith begins." Dr. Mendez, the doctor who treated Isabella since birth, was also interviewed. "I am a man of science," he said, "but in this case, I must admit something beyond science happened." The local diocese launched an official investigation. A group of priests, theologians, and medical experts examined every detail carefully. After months of review, the church released its conclusion. No signs of fraud or natural explanation have been found. This event may be regarded as a special grace from the Blessed Virgin Mary. One Sunday, Elena noticed a young boy sitting in a wheelchair outside the same church. He was about 5 years old, blind since birth, his face calm but sorrowful. Isabella walked toward him and knelt beside his chair. "What's your name?" she asked gently. "Raphael," he whispered. "Do you believe the Virgin can help you?" Raphael nodded, tears in his eyes. Isabella reached out and touched his hands. Then, like years ago, she placed her palm lightly over his eyes. A warmth filled the air. Raphael gasped. I see light!" he cried out. His mother fell to her knees, sobbing and thanking God. Elena stood frozen, trembling. She whispered, "Holy Mary, you've done it again."
Years passed. Isabella grew into a kind, radiant young woman, her eyes bright as morning sunlight. She began visiting schools and centers for the blind, sharing her story and teaching others about hope and faith. At one gathering, standing before hundreds, she said, "Not everyone can see with their eyes, but everyone can see with their heart." The audience fell silent. Those words would later echo around the world, quoted on posters, social media, and even church walls. People started calling her the Girl of Light. One quiet evening, Isabella and her mother returned to the little church where it all began. The statue of the Virgin still stood there, unchanged, eternal. Elena turned to her daughter and said softly, "You've changed so many lives, my dear." Isabella smiled. "No, Mama. The Virgin did that. I'm just her small hands." They knelt in silence. Sunlight streamed through the old stained glass, falling perfectly on the Virgin's face, as if she were glowing once again. From darkness to light, from despair to hope, a mother's prayer was heard, and a child's touch became a miracle. Because sometimes, faith doesn't need proof. It just needs a heart that believes. If this story touched your soul, please subscribe to Faith Wonder and share this video with someone who needs a little light today. This is Faith Wonder, where miracles are remembered and faith becomes light.